All right, Sagittarius listeners, are you ready for this? Because we are going in deep on your sign today.
That's right. If you were born between November 22nd and December 21st, this one's for you. We're talking all things Sagittarius.
We're going beyond this like basic sun sign traits, getting into the nitty-gritty of what makes you tick.
Personality,
Yeah.
those quirks. We love compatibility, career,
Yeah.
even a little mythology thrown in.
God loves some mythology, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sagittarius the Archer, often called the traveler of the Zodiac.
Always searching, always exploring. But have you ever wondered why that is?
It's so true that every Sagittarius I know has that adventurous spirit.
It all goes back to Jupiter, their ruling planet.
Oh, tell me more.
So Jupiter, it's all about expansion, seeking knowledge, experiences, always pushing those boundaries.
Okay.
And that energy, it directly influences Sagittarius's core desire for freedom and exploration.
So it's way more than just living to travel, right? It's like expanding your horizons on every level.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's about that intellectual, spiritual growth, too.
Which makes sense. They're always up for a good philosophical debate.
Right. Always pondering life's big questions.
But they also have this amazing sense of humor, like they don't take themselves too seriously.
There's that Jupiter influence again. It's associated with humor optimism. But that playful energy sometimes, let's just say, it can lead to some tactless moments.
Oh yeah, foot and mouth moments. We've
Yeah.
all been there.
It's part of their charm, right?
Totally. And their incredible generosity.
Absolutely. Always willing to give you the shirt off their back, lend a helping hand. But their generosity can sometimes clash with their impulsivity.
Being a fire sign and all right.
Exactly. Like Aries and Leo, there's
Yeah.
that passionate energy always on the move.
So how does that fire manifest in a Sagittarius's life?
Well, for one, it fuels their incredible drive.
Well,
They're not afraid to chase their dreams, even if it means taking risks.
that sounds familiar.
But that impulsivity we talked about, it can sometimes lead to overpromising or jumping into things without thinking them through.
So it's about finding that balance between passion and, not setting everything on fire.
Exactly. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Sagittarius is also linked to the idea of the healer, specifically Chiron from Greek mythology.
The healer. Really? That seems kind of counterintuitive for a sign that's all about outward expansion.
Right. It's a fascinating paradox. Chiron was a wounded healer, someone who understood pain deeply and dedicated himself to helping others.
So you're saying that beneath that cheerful, adventurous exterior, Sagittarius often carries a deep well of empathy.
Exactly. They might even hide their own pain behind that infectious smile, always focusing on lifting others up.
Wow, that's really insightful. It makes you realize there's always more to each sign than meets the eye. So we've talked about Sagittarius's adventurous spirit and their capacity for healing, but what about matters of the heart?
Love and Sagittarius, always an interesting combination.
Right, because how does that free-spirited nature we talked about play out in relationships?
Like a whirlwind romance, set against exotic backdrops, deep conversations. That's the Sagittarius love fantasy.
Sounds intense, but I imagine that need for freedom could make things a little complicated.
You're absolutely right. Their independence is paramount. They might even dive headfirst into love, mistaking that initial spark for a lifelong connection.
It's that fire sign energy again. They feel everything so intensely.
Exactly.
But what happens when the honeymoon phase fades and they start feeling that pull towards freedom again?
That is the million-dollar question. For a Sagittarius to find lasting love, they need a partner who understands that their need for exploration extends to relationships too.
So it's about finding someone who doesn't try to clip their wings but will soar alongside them.
Precisely. Someone who understands that need for change and new experiences.
Because Sagittarius is a mutable sign, right?
Exactly.
And for our listeners who aren't fluent in astrology speak, what does mutable mean again?
Oh, right. Of course. Mutable signs are all about adaptability, going with the flow. They thrive on change and new experiences.
So for Sagittarius, that means needing a relationship that's constantly evolving, never stagnant.
You got it. They need a partner who can keep them on their toes intellectually. Someone who can challenge their perspectives and engage in those late-night philosophical debates.
Someone who can keep up with that witty banter and adventurous spirit. It's true life with a Sagittarius is never boring.
Never boring. That's a good way to put it.
But speaking of adventure, aren't Sagittarians also known for having a wide circle of friends?
Absolutely. Their open-mindedness and genuine interest in others really draws people in.
They can connect with anyone, regardless of background or beliefs. It's amazing.
It goes back to that Jupiter influence expansion connection, seeing the bigger picture. They value their friendships deeply and are always up for a good time, whether it's a spontaneous road trip or just sharing a laugh over coffee.
So we've got this sign that values their freedom, loves to explore, and thrives on connection. How does that translate into their career choices?
Well, let's just say traditional 9-to-5 jobs aren't usually their cup of tea.
Yeah, that tracks.
They crave autonomy, the freedom to pursue their passions. You know,
So careers that allow for flexibility, creativity, maybe even a little bit of travel sprinkled in.
you got it. Think freelance work, entrepreneurship, anything that lets them be their own boss, set their own hours.
It's amazing how all these different aspects of Sagittarius, their ruling planet, their element, even their mythology, all point back to the central theme of freedom and expansion.
It all connects. It's like a puzzle where all the pieces just fit.
They really do. Now, I know we often hear about how money can't buy happiness, but let's be real. Finances do play a role in our lives. So how do Sagittarius typically fare in the money department?
This is where things can get a little tricky for our Sagittarius friends. Remember that optimism and belief in abundance that Jupiter brings.
Oh, yeah, those rose-colored glasses.
Exactly. While that outlook can be incredibly powerful, it can also lead to overspending and a tendency to live in the moment.
Without thinking about the future.
Sometimes, they might splurge on a spontaneous trip or a lavish gift without considering those long-term financial implications.
So it's a classic case of easy come, easy go.
It can be.
Any advice for our Sagittarius listeners who might be struggling to keep their bank accounts happy?
It all comes back to balance. That Jupiterian energy needs a grounding force. Practicality isn't usually their strong suit, but by embracing some structure like budgeting and planning, they can create more freedom in the long run.
It's like they need to channel that incredible visionary energy they have into manifesting not just adventures and experiences, but financial stability too.
Exactly.
Now, I know a lot of our listeners are curious about the differences between Sagittarius men and women. So let's dive into that a bit. What are some key traits that define a Sagittarius man?
If you're looking for a partner who's always up for an adventure, intellectually curious and brutally honest, look no further than a Sagittarius man. He's the philosopher of the Zodiac, always searching for truth and meaning.
So we're talking deep conversations over candlelight, maybe a heated debate about the meaning of life while backpacking through the Andes.
Exactly. He needs a partner who can match his intellectual curiosity and keep up with his adventurous spirit. Trying to tie him down is like trying to cage a wild stallion.
So freedom is key. But I imagine there's more to it than just letting him roam free. What else is important for understanding a Sagittarius man?
Remember that fire sign energy. Makes him incredibly passionate. But he can also be quick to anger if he feels stifled or controlled.
Okay, so we've established that he needs his space and doesn't shy away from a good debate. What else should someone know about navigating a relationship with a Sagittarius man?
Honesty is paramount for him. He's a straight shooter, sometimes to a fault, but he values authenticity above all else and expects the same from his partner.
So no mind games or playing hard to get. Just be upfront and honest about your feelings.
Exactly. He'll appreciate your directness. And speaking of directness, let's shift our focus to Sagittarius women. If you think the men are adventurous, wait till you meet the women.
Oh, I believe it. I have a few Sagittarius women in my life, and they are a force to be reckoned with. What words would you use to describe the essence of a Sagittarius woman?
Independent, adventurous, fun-loving, and unapologetically herself. She's a whirlwind of energy and passion, always chasing after her dreams with a twinkle in her eye.
Yeah. They definitely know how to make an entrance. But like their male counterparts, I imagine their independence can be a double-edged sword when it comes to relationships. What's the key to winning the heart of a Sagittarius woman?
Don't try to tame her wild spirit. She needs a partner who celebrates her independence and encourages her to soar clinginess. That's a surefire way to send her running for the hills.
Makes sense. But this doesn't mean she doesn't crave intimacy and connection. So how do you balance her need for freedom with her desire for a deep and meaningful relationship?
It's about finding that sweet spot between adventure and commitment. She needs a partner who's up for anything, who can keep her laughing, and who's not afraid to challenge her intellectually.
Someone who can match her energy and zest for life. I imagine a Sagittarius woman is looking for a partner in crime, someone to explore the world with, both literally and metaphorically.
Absolutely. She craves excitement and novelty. Routine bores her. She wants a love that's as fiery and unpredictable as she is.
Wow, so we've covered so much ground here today, from that classic Sagittarius adventurous spirit to those late-night philosophical debates.
It's true. They always keep things interesting.
They do. Which makes me wonder, who can keep up with all that energy? Who's actually compatible with this free-spirited sign?
Well, remember, Sagittarius is a fire sign. So naturally, they gravitate toward other fire signs.
Like Aries and Leo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those pairings tend to be passionate, energetic, always up for a good time.
Makes sense. They just get each other.
They do. But it's not just other fire signs. Air signs with their intellectual curiosity and love for communication can also be a good match.
Okay, so we're talking Libra and Aquarius.
Right, because Sagittarius needs a partner who can challenge them mentally, keep those philosophical debates going, and understand their need for freedom.
Someone who embraces the journey with all its twists and turns.
Exactly.
It's all about balance, right?
Always. Now, as much as we love diving into all these astrological insights, it's important to remember these are just archetypes.
Right. We're all unique individuals.
Absolutely. Astrology can be a powerful tool for self-discovery.
But it doesn't define us.
Exactly. It's about understanding those cosmic energies and using that knowledge to navigate our lives with more awareness.
I love that. So for all you Sagittarius listeners out there, does this resonate? Have you noticed these traits playing out in your own life?
Your relationships, your career choices.
Exactly. And how can you use this knowledge to embrace your strengths and navigate those areas where you might stumble a bit?
Self-awareness is key.
It really is.
Mm.
Well, as we wrap up our Sagittarius deep dive, I want to leave you with this. If life is a journey, and for a Sagittarius it always is, what adventures are calling your name? What unexplored territories are beckoning you to explore?
Don't be afraid to follow that Sagittarius spirit. Embrace the unknown and keep seeking those experiences that set your soul on fire.
Beautifully said. And remember, as you navigate those adventures, keep that sense of humor, embrace those foot-and-mouth moments with grace, and never stop seeking those connections that make life so incredibly rich and rewarding. Until next time, keep exploring.